What up, YouTube? Say I'm drinking this beer because I drink this beer every day because it's good. And I'm wearing this shirt in dedication to... And of course, I got to find out Christmas morning. This is the worst fucking Christmas of my life. Already was. My best friend, Uncle Brian, died back home. They're all dying off. Let me tell you about Uncle Brian. I've made some videos with him. I'm going to post all the links below. Uncle Brian, there was nobody like Uncle Brian. Cheers. I used to go to this bar back in St. Louis called House of Rock. It was a Hoosier dive bar. And I got off for Red Lobster around 4 o'clock, and he would be there. And he was always dressed in pantsuits and like a iron shirt. And he'd always be drinking Heineken over ice, reading the newspaper. Which is kind of weird to see in a dive bar. Most people aren't drinking beer over ice and reading anything but like the graffiti on the walls. And so we sat on opposite sides of the bar because, you know, you get used to sitting where you sit. And I had to talk to everybody. So I was like, let me talk to this fucker. So I went up to him and he goes, first words out of his mouth, like in this weirdo accent, which he doesn't even have an accent. He said, "Darling, don't you know I'm immortal?" And I mean, like, it threw me. And I mean, I like to fuck with people, but it threw me. And I was like, man, this dude's so crazy, it just might work. Best friends ever since. Best friends ever since. Brian was about 6'3", 6'4", about 350, 400 pounds of sheer beer strength. He used to play water polo. He's always been an asshole. Okay, like you guys think I'm crazy and I'm wild and I'm an asshole? Times like 1,000, and you will meet Uncle Brian and you'll see why he's such a legend in his time. So he used to purposely grow his toenails out when he did water polo when he was young and scrape the shit out of people's legs. Like that's how sick he was, and he would like brag about it to me. Like, he would go all the way from this part of town, I can't even think of it right now, I've been gone so long, in St. Louis back to where he lived. And it was like over an hour drive, especially with traffic. It was ridiculous. And he would smoke and drink and drive the whole way. He wouldn't even get in the car without taking a beer to the car. Old school. You guys can judge if you want, but there's a lot of people that were like that back in the day. And then he had AM radio, right? Because all guys have AM radio, and he would call into radio shows. He's the only person I ever know that could be blocked from AM radio. He would call into talk shows, so like, he knew there was a 7-second delay, right? So he would act real serious because he was really good with effing with people. But like, I hate those fucking dogs. But like in a real sick, twisted way, which was hilarious. And so he would call up, and they were talking about adoption. And it was like a serious show, and he goes, and he just did this because he was just like that funny and sick, like and bored on the drive home as he's drinking and smoking, doing God knows what else. And he goes, yes, me and my wife were about to adopt, but we just don't agree on the parenting. You know, she wants to give him times out. I want to be like, get back in the closet, slap, slap, slap. Boom, they cut him off, right? And he would do this shit all the time. Another time when my little sister was in not such a good place, she's not really in such a good place, but she might have been having some drug addiction problems. This is a funny one too on its own. My sister, without my parents knowing, my parents had 11 acres of property she lived on, and she advertised that she was going to be like a veterinary, like basically somebody where you would keep your pets, right? My sister couldn't keep a pet to save her life. This is how ate up she was. She published it in a public paper. Nobody called her. So my other little sister, Jessica, she calls me at the bar with Brian, right? So us two together, the Brian and Mandy show. And she goes, dude, Megan's so fucked up. She's like, she just like opened an ad for like, you know, like boarding pets at mom and dad's house. Mom and dad don't even know. I was like, what? So I told Brian's like, let me call her. She was so ate up at the time, she didn't even realize she just put the ad out that day. The paper didn't even come out till the next day. Okay. So calls. She answers, and he's like, yes. And he makes up this weirdo accent. He was nailing it. He's like, I have 6 Australian shepherds with asthmatic bowel. They're asthmatic and they have bowel problems. Would that be okay? Because I'd go to Europe. Like, My sister's like, oh yeah, oh yeah. She was like, he was promising her like thousands to leave the dogs for like a week. So my sister was like, yeah. And so when she asked for the name, this fucking dipshit, sorry Megan if you're watching, but you were a dipshit. He says, yes, my name's Dick Beninia. And like Megan had a notebook back home, my middle sister, like I'm the oldest, and like she wrote down Dick Beninia and all these numbers, and then she just took off the house. She probably went straight to the trap house, straight to the trap. So I called Jesse, and Jesse's like, oh my God, like I go, Jesse, the paper hasn't even come out yet. So my whole family knows, but Megan like rages. Like she hit my mom with a car. Like she's like, and so like nobody wanted to tell her it was a joke. And then they go, Megan, the paper hasn't been out. She figured it out and she raged. And she called Brian all day long, like threatening to slash his tires, threatening to kill him. Like it was like a thing. It was a thing for a minute. Brian loved all his family, even though he never wanted to come see you guys. He didn't want to see anybody. He was a grumpy old lazy dude who just wanted to sit there and, you know, that was his MO. That's what he wanted to do. He didn't want to fuck with anybody, man. And I made him fuck with me. He had no choice. And we were an infamous duo. He was infamous all on his own. He loved Elvis. And he loved his horror family, House of Rock. But you know who he really didn't like ever? Tracy. Tracy, he never liked you. He always secretly thought you were a bitch. In fact, everybody from House of Rock always secretly thought you were a bitch. So, secret's out. He'd be laughing, I told you. Moving on. He will be very missed. And you know why he died not today, this week, he would want everybody to find out today because he's an asshole like that. He would love to shit on their parade or just see the reaction. Like he's watching. And I'll tell you right now, I'm going through one of the hardest times of my life right now. Again. I'll be alright. But thank God that big fat bastard is watching over me because he's the best guardian angel I can have. Alive or dead. So, throw it up. And I'll leave the link down below if you guys want to see some Uncle Brian videos because he was a character. So just check the links below. Love you guys.